Hello and welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast. I'm your host, John Bernatovich. I have embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope to find out what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you enjoy the show, please make sure that you subscribe and hit that 5-star rating. Welcome back to the HR Like a Boss podcast. This is your host, John Bernatovich. I am super excited to have Brea Schmidt back on the HR Like a Boss podcast. I met Brea at the Northern Ohio HR conference, and she did a very quick, abridged hello, goodbye on the HR Like a Boss podcast as we were live streaming there. So Brea, welcome to the show.
John, thank you so much for having me back. It was so great to meet you. Gosh, it was in May already? It's really great to be connecting with you again. So thanks for welcoming me back.
I'll tee you up for my favorite question on the HR Like a Boss podcast, because to me, life and business and everything we do is about purpose. And why is it that we're doing it? So tell me, Brea, what you think the purpose of human resources is.
The purpose of human resources is supporting the people behind the business, period. There's systems involved, there's marketing, there's sales, there's all of this work that we put in to creating great processes, great systems, and those are things that businesses need. But anyone knows that a business is only as good as the people that are executing those systems. And I believe that HR professionals are the ones who ensure that the people in the business feel supported, that the culture is set up to support them to do their best work, and that they are there to help them if something happens on the human side of their work. And I would argue that HR professionals are probably the most under-talked about part of business, especially over the last couple of years, as the face of business has changed. I think, the HR profession has changed a lot in the way that they have had to show up for people as the scope of the world, and the way that business has run has shifted a little bit. So,
Brea, tell me what it means, wellness in the workplace. You've been focused on this. You've been studying it. You've been keynote speaking. You're a sought after thought leader. What does wellness in the workplace mean to someone astute as you on the subject?
I think it goes back to what I said about what an HR professional is they're supporting the people behind the business. And I think wellness is something in our fast-paced world that even personally we can sometimes struggle to focus on. Me as a parent and an entrepreneur and a friend and a daughter and a sister, I don't slow down personally enough to really check in on how my mental health is doing and how I'm feeling, and am I giving myself time to have hobbies and to make sure that I'm taking care of my overall wellness. But I think in the workplace specifically, what companies are now understanding is maybe in the past, it was kind of taboo to bring up wellness in the workplace, that no, you just showed up and you left everything behind. But I think COVID really highlighted that people come to work as whole human beings, navigating various things. And I think it's the companies that recognize that get in front of it, that acknowledge that people are enduring a variety of things when it comes to stress, overwhelm. And I think the companies that are creating programming around it, are building employee resource groups around it, are the ones that have team members who feel seen at work. And so I think that knowing that it's so hard to do in our personal lives, when an individual is also supported at work, I think that is a huge stride for all of us as human beings to be able to focus a little bit more on taking care of ourselves in a really stressful and fast-paced world.
There's certainly something to be said in a relationship, kind of, I'll call it employer to employee. And probably even the best way to relate to it is to someone that you love and care for and is there for you, and you can be your authentic self to them. You can have difficult conversations, and there's no judgment. There's no recourse. They don't put it in your permanent record as it relates to that you had a bad day. And I think employers as a whole, businesses, are grappling with how do we do that for our people while we want to drive results for our business. It's kind of this catch-22 in some cases. And I think the work that you're doing, obviously people are an incredibly critical part of any business. If they're not in the right headspace, if they've got distractions going on, we know their work quality is going to change, and it's going to impact the results anyway. So it seems to make logical sense to invest in wellness for sure.
Exactly. And John, you and I have talked, that I have a passion for parents in the workplace. And the feedback that I get from a lot of parents in the corporate world is sometimes they're hesitant to ask for flexibility because, we don't want our boss or our coworkers to think that our parenting is getting in the way of the way that we show up at work. Or I've heard people who are nervous to share that they're pregnant because they don't know how the company is going to look at that as far as their career path. And so some of the best companies that I've worked with over the course of the last year who have parenting ERGs are the ones who are just talking about it openly. So they're saying to their people, we get it. We know that you're thinking of this, and we want you to know that you are supported. We want to understand the things that you deal with. And not only that, we want to create a culture that if you are a non-parent, that we create space for those people to better understand what parents are going through. So a lot of the parenting ERGs are welcoming non-parents in, and we say, hey, listen, if you work alongside a parent, it's probably a good thing for you to learn a little bit more about what they're dealing with. If you are a leader of a parent, aren't you going to be a better leader if you take the time to better understand the things that they're enduring? And so again, I think that some of the best companies are just now taking all of these thoughts and feelings that employees typically feel in the shadows and putting them in the spotlight and giving people maybe a little bit more comfort to bring up some of those things at work. And I think that is incredibly important.
How would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
They are a leader who leads with heart first. They lead with that word empathy, that they are constantly trying to listen and learn from the people that they are serving in the company and ultimately create those processes, those systems, that culture that allows someone to feel like they can show up to as their whole selves at work, no matter who they are.
Brea, it was incredible to have you on the show. I appreciate you very much, and I wish you nothing but the best in your continued endeavors.
John, thanks so much for having me and for all the work you do for HR professionals and the people they support. It's been great to talk to you again.
Thanks for checking out the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating and review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.